Thank you so much for joining us. I know that I am ending the show after Dwayne Kennedy has wrapped up, and thank you so much to Dwayne Kennedy for filling in for me. I wanted to jump on because there's a special event happening on Monday. You know, last year during the International Film Festival right here in Chicago, we had the opportunity to talk to some of the writers, directors, performers, and producers of so many great films. And we're so thrilled for our guest who has great news to share with us. You know, this was one of my favorite movies of last year, of anything that I saw, which was All Happy Families. And joining us is the director and co-writer, Haroula Rose. Haroula, congratulations. Tell us a little bit about, first of all, the big news of distribution and all these great things that every writer, director, filmmaker hopes for.
Oh, man, thank you so much, Patti. We have distribution that has taken us to some 35 theaters across the nation, and we're adding more this month. And then you can also pre-order on Apple now for October 18th when the VOD comes out for streaming initially. And it really has been a dream.
I'm so excited for you. This story, it's so funny when you read like Deadline and Variety and their description of it. You know, they say like not your typical Midwestern family, but it feels very Chicago. So tell folks a little bit about this story and what the inspiration was for sharing this with the world.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I feel like it does feel Chicago, too. It's about a family going through a kind of hard time, but it's very funny, and it's been really cool hearing people laughing at all these festival screenings and during the theatrical run. I would say that it's just about the Landry family, and each person is still in a process of growing up or coming of age or however you want to phrase that, even though they're not children anymore by any means.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You know, my son just moved into his own apartment. He'd already moved out for college, but now he's actually in an apartment. And like, this is it for me. And seeing, a family, years later after the boys in this movie and all happy families, start their careers, build their lives, and then end up under the same roof again. I've been in that situation. I remember coming home and staying with my parents. I think we all can identify with that, can't we?
Definitely. And I feel like the house and the neighborhood also feel very much like a character in the film for that reason. It's kind of like going back home it can be sort of triggering in this way. It brings you back in all these nostalgic ways and then brings up all these maybe hidden issues.
Oh, yeah. No doubt about it. There's you never know where a tripwire is, where you might set something off. But it can also be cathartic, as we learn in this film, in this beautiful story that you, the writer, your co-writer, and all the performers, and the set. You mentioned that the Chicago, is part of the character of this, including the building that he's renting out the apartment. I mean, I feel like every young Chicagoan has lived in a similar apartment in their 20s. I lived like in a neighborhood like that. And so tell me.
Oh my God, yeah, totally.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about. Let's talk about that, about Chicago as a character in this film and choosing locations. How did that transpire for you?
It was just a lot of fun. There's so many beautiful places and the lake and landmarks and old-fashioned signs, and there's skate parks and theaters, and we just felt really good about showing it all off.
Absolutely. It's almost like you have a wealth of options, and it's hard to narrow it down, isn't it?
Definitely. And then the architecture tour, that was one of those scenes that was on the chopping block. At one point, we were like, how can we pull this off? Can we afford it? I was like, we have to.
Make it happen, whatever it takes. So you are coming back to Chicago. Are you currently in Chicago, or are you kind of traveling around right now?
Both. I'm always in and out of this place. I grew up here and lived here and went to school here and have been living here a lot my whole life. So the answer is always kind of yes. I'm going to have some more special screenings on this film tour, and then I think for the rest of my life, I'm always going to be here.
I'm with you on that. And I must let folks know that one of the special events is coming up this Monday at the Music Box Theater, which, by the way, just went under renovation. So it's back open, everybody. And this is a great event to go and see the new seats, what they've done with the place. It's at 6:30 at the Music Box Theater. And I want to know, you mentioned that you grew up in Chicago. What area of Chicago did you grow up in?
I grew up in Lincolnwood, which is, technically a suburb, but it feels very city. And then I went to school in Hyde Park, and then I've lived in Lincoln Square, Logan Square, Gold Coast, kind of everywhere.
Yeah.
And I can also attest to the comfort of those new seats in the music box. I was there for an interview today, and it was beautiful, all of the refurbishing they did. And I'm so excited to screen there.
No, it's absolutely perfect that you get to do that. I love Lincolnwood. That swimming, the public swimming pool there is ridiculous. That's where my boys learn how to swim.
Best.
It really is.
Oh my God, seminal childhood memories. And there's also like batting cages,
yes,
and restaurants, and all those motels. We got all that in there.
Are you talking about the Bunny Hutch, or are there other batting cages in Lincolnwood?
Well, there's Bunny Hutch, and then there's just random signs and things we wanted to show off that are like pretty old school.
That's fantastic. And you mentioned that you were in Hyde Park. Did you go to U Chicago? Or did you
I did, yeah.
You went to U Chicago. That is where my son is.
Oh wow!
It's really beautiful. And like I said,
so much love for Hyde Park.
Yeah, I'm so happy about the block he moved into. We don't have to get into the details about the apartment he chose. That's neither here nor there. He's a boy. You know how it goes. But
we could talk about this offline.
There you go. So when you created this story and you thought about, were you thinking about the cast in your head? Because I believe you were friends with Josh Radnor. Was that right?
Yeah, we're old friends. I had a song on How I Met Your Mother, and then we met through that and just hit it off and stayed friends and have worked together in music life and had always talked about doing some projects together like this. So I had a feeling he'd say yes, but you just never know. The first person I cast was Rob Hubel because that character is very complicated, as you know, and something about him and the way he delivers lines, I just knew this guy is someone that you're going to find charming, even though you think maybe he's slightly suspect.
Uh-huh.
And then the parents, Becky was always the number one choice. Yep. And I'd worked with John Ashton before on my first film, Once Upon a River. So again, I wrote that with him in mind, as did Kobe. And unfortunately, we lost John last week. And so It's kind of heartbreaking to be having these screenings now without him.
For folks who perhaps don't recognize the name John Ashton, he was, think of Beverly Hills Cop, just to name one. But I loved Judge Reinhold's tribute to him that I read last week about how close their friendship was, and if anything, folks, that what a way to celebrate his career and his life is to see one of his final films, because it is a wonderful story. They call it, we say the word dramedy, but I do love that the description. We expand that dramatic comedy because there is humor in there. There's love. There's that family story that we all recognize. Those, as you mentioned, the elements to our relationships that sometimes boil up, and we see so much of that. And the rest of the cast is spectacular too. Tell us about the rest of the cast.
Yeah, so Chandra Russell is from Chicago. She's on the show Southside that she co-created, and so is Antoine Mattei. And there's Rodney Crowell, who's a Grammy Award-winning musician with a great cameo in there. And Colleen Camp is sort of a legend as well, the same way John Ashton is. Done a million things, from Apocalypse Now to Clue and Die Hard, and she's in there as the agent. We have a ton of amazing local talent as well, like David Pasqualese and Natalia Galuich. It's just an amazing cast. I got really, really lucky, and I'm so excited for people to finally see this.
Yeah, everything about it. Every element, from the set design, the wardrobe. We've talked about the cast. It's just out of this world. The storytelling. Tell me about your co-writer on this, Kobe Goss.
Kobe's amazing. He's a brilliant writer, which I had no idea about when I asked him to co-write something. He was an actor in my first film, Once Upon a River, and he played a total villain in this really complicated, awesome way. And I just had this feeling that we could write something together. And so when 2020 rolled around, we had all this time to do it. And it started with an idea and then coming up with the characters and the dynamics between them. And then it kind of went through all these drafts. And then we started casting it. And Michael Shannon is a friend of Kobe's, and he came on as an executive producer. And we were able to go from there, just organically. We got really lucky, I guess, but we've been working really hard, and getting this cast together was a big part of it. We did a Zoom reading with everyone, and I knew we'd have something pretty magical at that point.
Well, you were absolutely right about that. I really want to encourage folks. Again, it's the film is All Happy Families, and it's going to be at the Music Box Theater for a screening at 6:30 p.m. There's going to be it's a great way to celebrate Chicago, to discover the work of Haroula Rose and Kobe Goss, and as well as the rest of the cast. And you can pre-order this now on Apple. It'll be available for video on demand October 18th. What do you, in the wrapping of this and then, getting it out there and going to festivals and things like that, how quickly, are you already thinking of another project while you're in the middle of the project you're on, or are you absolutely laser focused and then you'll move on to things creatively when you have everything sort of squared away?
That's a great question. I think it's a combination. There's definitely projects that are percolating or already kind of in early stages that have some actors or some money. So I think one of those will happen next. But I'm always writing new stuff and making some new music, and that's coming out in the new year. But I am thrilled about this finally making its way out there. It's been very moving to see people and hear people laughing together in these very packed theaters. If people can't make it to the Music Box, I suggest watching it with friends or family. It's just a lot more fun to hear it with people.
And thank you again for showcasing Chicago in such a wonderful and real way. You and everybody involved in this project, I just can't thank you enough. I'm like you. I'm a Chicago girl. Every time I leave here, I just can't wait to come back, regardless of the experiences I have.
I know. It's the same thing. And we're in this string of the most beautiful days of the year. I'm just having the best time.
I don't know if you caught how much people absolutely loved our city during the Democratic National Convention. Were you in town for that?
That was amazing.
Right?
I know. It's this big secret, this open secret. I'm kind of like, okay, are they all going to move here?
And we could not have asked for better weather. I mean, everything about it, all the social media content creators, the journalists, everyone talking and writing about it. I was like, yep, thank you very much. Told you so.
Yes, it's ridiculous. It's amazing to be able to show it off.
Well, you have done a great job. I congratulate you on the success and the distribution and the really, above all else, this magnificent project that's come to fruition and the way in which you executed it. So proud to call you a fellow Chicagoan, and we look forward to seeing what you do next. I look forward to meeting you in person someday. If I can't make it on Monday,
know.
We'd love to have you in studio sometime.
Sorry,
when your schedule. Oh, please! I know you're busy. When your schedule allows, we'd love to have you in studio.
Yeah, I'd love that too.
What's the best way for folks to follow the work that you're doing?
I think Instagram's probably the most consistent. It's at Haroula Rose. And then we also have a website or a link tree with our amazing distributor who have been very, very supportive and generous, called Freestyle Digital Media.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us, Haroula, and have a wonderful weekend. And I know you're going to have an amazing evening at the Music Box Theater. Again, folks, it's All Happy Families going to be at the Music Box Theater this Monday at 6:30. Pre-order the movie on Apple because it'll be available for video on demand on October 18th streaming. Thank you so much, Haroula. Have a great weekend.
You too. Thanks again for having me.
My pleasure. Bye-bye.